2023 brings in a commit, and it's funny that with all this transfer portal activity, and not just the activity, but the expectation or rumored activity, that it kind of drowns out at times the actual traditional recruiting these days. But Caleb Spencer, a safety out of Virginia, has made his commitment, and he is the fifth commit in the 2023 class.
Yeah, Oklahoma. It's been a while. It's been a little bit since Oklahoma's had a commitment in the 2023 cycle, but I think, Mark, that kind of leans more towards Brent Venables and the recruiting staff's process. I think more so than not having people commit. The way that he envisions it, Brent Venables does not pressure some of these kids to commit early on. Honestly, the way he wants it, he wants them to wait until they are absolutely 100% sure on this is where that they want to be. This is where they feel comfortable. The next 3 to 5 years of their life being here. So he's not willing to take commitments if they're a little bit still waffling. They still want to make other visits. They still want to do this. So it's a little bit of change in the guard, just in terms of how Oklahoma has done, has done in the past. But as you mentioned, Caleb Spencer, he's a 3-star guy. Is not as highly recruited or highly regarded, I guess I should say, as maybe some. But I think he's a perfect mold in that linebacker safety kind of duo, as Brent Venables likes to have in his defense. Has some offers from Arkansas and Boston College. Other than that, it's not extremely impressive lineups, but I think it'll be interesting to see what that looks like throughout the year, specifically being committed to Oklahoma. And some kids get more involved in camps towards their junior and senior year, so getting out there. But the 15th ranked player in the state of Virginia, number 52 safety overall, ranked in the country. So as you mentioned, fifth, I think it's the fifth overall commitment in the 2023 cycle for Oklahoma, and you'll start to see that happen a little bit more as the summer. As the summer goes, because a lot of these kids, there's a good majority that kind of drag it out through their senior years and things like that. But there's still a lot of kids that want to kind of have this in the rearview mirror and kind of focus on their senior year and make that decision early. So I think you'll start seeing some of those, some more of those happen here throughout the summer.
Yeah, we all get caught up in the recruiting rankings, which it makes sense. That's the starting point, is to say, okay, Oklahoma just got to commit from a safety. I do the same thing. The first thing I look at is, where is he ranked? Where is he ranked at his position? What's the overall ranking? What's the ranking within the state? Where does he come from? Okay, Virginia. Virginia's pretty good football playing state, actually. It's not Florida or Texas by any stretch, but it's in the top 10. It's a pretty good football playing state. And then at some point, you just have to trust, especially you're making the connection on the defensive side of the ball with Brent Venables' experience and what he wants. And you just have to trust the coaching staff in the process that, they're not looking. They are looking at recruiting rankings, depending on the coach, depending on the staff. Some of them, I've heard, take them pretty seriously. Others don't. And then, of course, they gain intel from looking at certain rankings and thinking, okay, why aren't we on this guy? Maybe we should pay some more attention. But aside from that, they go and they watch the game tape. They go through the camps. And for them to get an offer out on somebody like this fairly early in the process, it's not that early, but we're looking at about 7 months to signing day. They must be pretty sold on him and like what they see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with the defensive pedigree that this staff has, I think you don't really question that from that perspective as much as maybe you would with some of the previous staff. But so yeah, he's a guy that maybe they just love his size and athletic ability at that safety position, or at that hybrid linebacker safety position. So yeah, no, I think it's a good get for Oklahoma on the defensive side of the ball, and we'll see what this how this kind of goes from here.
What might be an interesting exercise to go through, and this might be the time of year to do it, is to start with the 21 class and take a class each week and go through, read off the names, kind of get your impressions. My impressions, of course, you're going to have much more detailed impressions, but and look at, okay, who bust, who boomed, who pretty much hit the mark. How did this class rank? Is that ranking 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later? Was this class overrated, underrated? And how did this class turn out? Was it supposed to not be a great class and it turned out to be much better, or the other way around? And just kind of review the classes and see how it looks years later.
Yeah, that's a great, like as you mentioned, that's a great thing to do this time of the year, right? When there's a little bit of a lull between spring and fall camp. Yeah, that would be um, interesting look.
All right, there you go, folks. We're going to start our series next week. Jason's given his approval because most of the analysis, as everything else, is going to be mostly on him. I'll give my 2 cents, but we'll start with 2021 and we'll go in reverse. And obviously 21, there's only 1 year to go off, but we'll still get a feel for, okay, this guy made an impact as a freshman. We're still waiting on him. We're still waiting on him. We don't know. Yeah. And just give it a look. And then, of course, there's going to be more validity given to it once we go to 20 and 19 and back. But I think that'll be pretty fascinating to go through the recruiting classes. So we'll start that next week. Unless we are just hammered with news and discussion to talk about. But this would be the time of year that would be best to tackle that. So we start our recruiting class reviews next week with 2021.